The Orion diplomatic station floated like a shining city between the stars. Ships from hundreds of worlds moved around it in slow, graceful paths, their lights blinking like distant constellations. Inside the station, languages mixed together in soft echoes, and beings of different shapes and colors walked through wide corridors made of transparent crystal. Humans were still new here. Many alien species watched them with quiet curiosity. Some saw humans as unpredictable. Others believed they were fragile compared to stronger and older civilizations. Only a few understood how dangerous it was to underestimate a species that had survived centuries of chaos on a small blue world. Daniel Reyes walked through the main corridor with calm steps. He wore a simple gray uniform without many decorations. His badge identified him as a human security consultant, a position few aliens fully understood. Humans did not have the advanced neural analysis tools that other species relied on. They did not see ultraviolet energy waves or hear hidden frequencies. What humans had instead was instinct. Daniel watched everything around him without turning his head too much. A group of insect-like traders argued quietly near a docking terminal. A tall, silver-skinned ambassador walked past with two floating drones. Security officers stood near entrances, their armor glowing faintly with defensive energy. Nothing looked wrong, and yet something felt off. He had been called to the station because several small security failures had happened recently. Doors malfunctioning, communication delays, energy spikes that disappeared before scanners could record them. Nothing serious enough to trigger emergency protocols, but enough to worry those who paid attention. Daniel was good at noticing patterns others ignored. He slowed as he entered the central atrium, a large open space filled with soft blue light. The ceiling curved upward like a glass sky, showing distant stars. Delegates gathered for an important diplomatic meeting between several powerful species. The air felt heavy with tension even though voices remained polite. That was when he saw her. Commander Lyra Valen moved through the crowd with quiet authority. She belonged to a species known for strict discipline and precise logic. Her skin carried a faint silver glow, and her uniform reflected her high rank. Other officers stepped aside without needing to be told. Daniel noticed how she scanned the room with sharp focus. She trusted systems more than people, like most of her kind. As she approached a security checkpoint, someone called her name from behind. She turned quickly, and in that small movement her command badge slipped from her uniform and fell toward the floor. She bent down to pick it up. Daniel's eyes followed the movement, but not for the reason anyone nearby might assume. Around the badge, for only a brief moment, he noticed a flicker, a tiny distortion in the air, like heat rising from metal. He froze. The distortion disappeared as soon as she touched the badge again. No one else reacted. Conversations continued. Lights remained steady. But Daniel felt the same sensation he had learned to trust long ago, the feeling that something small was hiding something very dangerous. Commander Lyra stood up again and continued walking, unaware. Daniel hesitated. He had no proof, only instinct. Humans were known for jumping to conclusions based on emotion, something many alien species criticized. If he approached her without reason, he risked embarrassing both of them. Still, he could not ignore what he had seen. He moved through the crowd carefully and caught up with her near a side corridor. "Commander," he said gently. She stopped and turned, her expression calm but guarded. Her eyes quickly scanned his uniform and paused at the human insignia. "Yes, my name is Daniel Reyes. I was assigned to review station security issues." "I am aware," she said. "Your arrival was noted." He nodded. "Your badge, may I take a quick look at it?" Her posture stiffened slightly. "Why?" Daniel chose his words carefully. "I may be wrong. But I noticed a small anomaly when it fell. Probably nothing, just want to confirm." She studied him for a long moment. Her species valued logic, not guesswork, yet something in his calm tone made her hesitate. Finally, she removed the badge and handed it to him. Daniel held it in his palm. It felt normal, light, smooth, and cold. But as he turned it slowly, he noticed a nearly invisible seam along the edge. Too precise, too hidden. "May I run a scan?" he asked. She activated a small wrist device projecting a holographic scanner. The device analyzed the badge and reported no problems. "See," she said, "no irregularities." Daniel nodded, but his instincts remained uneasy. He gently pressed one side of the badge, feeling for resistance. There, a slight click. A tiny compartment opened, revealing a microscopic device embedded inside. Lyra's eyes widened. "That is not standard," she said quietly. Daniel stepped back as she activated a security field around the object. Her expression changed from curiosity to cold focus. "This device could override local network permissions," she said after a quick analysis. "If connected to my authorization signal, it could access restricted systems." "Meaning someone wanted to use your authority without you knowing," Daniel said. She looked at him again, this time with new interest. "How did you notice this?" He gave a small shrug. "I saw something move wrong. That is not a technical explanation. It's a human one." For the first time, she allowed herself a faint smile. They reported the discovery to station security immediately, but the investigation created tension. Someone with high access had planted the device. Trust between departments began to crack. Rumors spread quickly that a human had uncovered the threat. Some officers seemed impressed, others appeared uncomfortable. Later, as Daniel walked alone through a quieter hallway, he felt eyes watching him. He turned slowly. Nothing, just empty corridors and distant lights, but the feeling remained. Somewhere on the station, someone now knew he had interfered with their plan, and they would not be happy about it. Far away, hidden within a maintenance sector, a shadowed figure watched surveillance footage showing Daniel examining the badge. The figure paused the video. "A human," a distorted voice whispered. The image froze on Daniel's face, calm and observant. "Unexpected." The screen went dark. Daniel did not sleep much that cycle. The station lights dimmed to simulate night, but Orion Diplomatic Station never truly rested. Ships arrived and left constantly, and thousands of beings moved through its corridors at all hours. Somewhere behind the calm routine, someone had tried to use Commander Lyra's authority to access restricted systems. That meant planning, patience, and knowledge of the station's inner workings, and now whoever it was knew their plan had failed. Daniel sat in a quiet observation room, watching distant stars drift past the glass. He replayed the moment in his mind again and again, the badge falling, the strange distortion, the hidden device. It had been small, almost invisible, advanced enough to fool scanners designed by civilizations far older than humanity. But not advanced enough to fool human instinct. A soft sound behind him made him turn. Commander Lyra entered, her posture straight but less rigid than before. She carried a data pad and stopped beside him, looking out at space for a moment before speaking. "Security teams have searched my quarters and command deck," she said. "No additional devices found." "That's good," Daniel replied. "It is also troubling. Whoever did this is careful." She studied him briefly. "You sensed something was wrong before any instrument confirmed it." "I am still analyzing that." He gave a small smile. "Humans grew up in messy environments. We learn to notice things that don't fit." "Explain." He thought for a moment, searching for simple words. "Sometimes you don't know why something feels wrong, you just feel it." "Body language, movement, tiny details. Your brain connects patterns without telling you how." She considered this carefully. "Your species relies on subconscious analysis." "Pretty much." She nodded slowly, as if adding new data to an internal system. They began walking together toward the security command center. Officers paused slightly when they saw them side by side. The news had spread quickly. The human had found the hidden threat. Inside the command room, holographic displays floated in the air, showing station schematics and security feeds. Several alien officers turned toward them. "Commander," one said, "we have reviewed access logs connected to your badge." There were several unauthorized pings routed through maintenance networks. "Maintenance?" Lyra repeated. "Yes, old infrastructure rarely used by main staff." Daniel leaned closer to the display. "Someone used blind spots." The officer nodded. "Exactly." Lyra crossed her arms. "Prepare a team. We will inspect those sectors personally." Daniel raised an eyebrow. "Personally?" She met his gaze calmly. "If someone is hiding within our station, I will not delegate entirely." He could respect that. The maintenance corridors felt different from the polished diplomatic areas. Lights flickered slightly, and the walls showed signs of age. Old cables ran along the ceiling, and the air smelled faintly metallic. Daniel walked beside Lyra and two security officers. His eyes moved constantly, scanning corners, reflections, and shadows. "Most conspiracies fail because someone becomes careless," he said quietly. "And if they are not careless," Lyra asked, "then they get confident." They reached a sealed door connected to the maintenance network. The security officers opened it slowly. Inside, the room appeared empty. Dust floated in the air. Old consoles blinked weakly. Nothing moved. One officer scanned the area. No life signs. Daniel stepped forward anyway. He moved slowly, looking at the floor. One section had slightly different markings, as if it had been opened recently. He knelt down and touched it. Warm. "This panel was moved not long ago," he said. The officers exchanged looks. Lyra nodded. "Open it." The floor panel slid aside, revealing a hidden compartment filled with small devices similar to the one found in her badge. Silence filled the room. "This is not sabotage," Daniel said softly. "This is preparation." Lyra's expression hardened. Someone planned multiple infiltration points. Before they could say more, the lights flickered and alarms began to sound. "Security breach detected," an automated voice announced. Holographic displays appeared around them, showing locked doors activating across the station. "They know we are here," Daniel said. Lyra tapped her communicator. "Control, report," Static answered. The maintenance corridor suddenly felt smaller. One of the officers moved toward the entrance, but the door slammed shut before he reached it. Daniel's instincts sharpened. "They're trying to isolate us," he said. Lyra's eyes narrowed. "Remain calm. Whoever is behind this wants us to panic." The room grew darker as secondary lights activated. Shadows stretched along the walls. Daniel listened carefully. Beneath the alarm sounds, he heard faint footsteps, retreating, not approaching. "They're leaving," he said. "How do you know?" "They triggered the alarms to cover their escape." Lyra did not hesitate. Manual override. She accessed a nearby console and forced the door open. They ran into the corridor, following the direction Daniel indicated. The footsteps were gone, but a faint trail of disturbed dust showed someone had moved quickly through the area. They reached a junction just as another door closed. Too late. Daniel slowed, breathing steadily. "Even if we didn't catch them," he said, "we changed their plan. They weren't ready to be discovered." Lyra looked at him thoughtfully. "You speak with confidence." "Humans learn from predators," he replied. "When prey fights back unexpectedly, predators rethink their strategy." She almost smiled again. Back in the command center, reports flooded in. Systems had experienced brief disruptions but returned to normal quickly. No major damage. Still, tension filled the air. The conspirator had responded quickly and intelligently. This was not random sabotage. It was a calculated game. Later, as Daniel walked alone through a quieter part of the station, he felt that same sensation again, being watched. He stopped. A reflection in a dark window showed a figure standing far behind him. He turned. The corridor was empty. A chill ran down his spine. Someone was studying him as carefully as he studied them. Somewhere deep within the station, the hidden observer reviewed new footage. The human had reacted faster than expected. He had predicted movement, sensed danger without technology. "Humans," the voice murmured softly. Plans began to change, and for the first time the conspirator felt something unfamiliar. Uncertainty. The Orion diplomatic station felt different after the alarms. Nothing looked broken. Lights still glowed softly along curved corridors. Delegates still walked through the atrium with polite conversations and controlled expressions. But beneath the calm surface, tension moved like a hidden current. Security officers doubled their patrols. Access checkpoints activated more often. Communication channels remained busy with quiet updates between departments. Daniel felt it the moment he stepped into the central hallway. The air itself seemed heavier, filled with silent questions. Someone had tried to isolate him and Commander Lyra. Someone had failed, and now the game had changed. Commander Lyra stood near the main security console when he arrived. Several holographic displays floated around her, showing maps of the station and streams of data. Her posture remained composed, but Daniel could tell she had not rested either. "You were correct," she said without turning. "The intruder is adapting quickly." Daniel leaned against the console. "So are we," she turned toward him. "We recovered partial data from the hidden compartment. The devices were not only meant to bypass authorization, they could slowly rewrite access privileges without triggering alerts. That means they wanted long-term control," Daniel said. "Yes, not immediate destruction." "Influence?" Daniel nodded slowly. That matched what he had been feeling. Whoever planned this was patient. They wanted power quietly, without open conflict. "Do we know who?" he asked. Lyra shook her head. "No confirmed identity." but the access patterns suggest someone with deep knowledge of diplomatic operations. Daniel walked toward the holographic map. He studied the highlighted areas where anomalies had occurred. His eyes moved slowly, connecting points. "You said humans rely on subconscious analysis," Lyra said. "Yeah. Then what does your instinct say now?" He stayed silent for a moment. "They're not trying to destroy the station," he said finally. "They're trying to create chaos slowly. Small problems that grow until trust breaks between species." Lyra's expression sharpened. "Political destabilization. Exactly. If diplomacy fails, conflict starts and someone benefits." She crossed her arms. "Then the final step must still be ahead." Daniel felt the same conclusion settle inside him. "Yes," he said quietly, "they haven't made their big move yet." Before she could respond, an alert flashed across the room. A new energy spike appeared near the central communication array, the system responsible for broadcasting diplomatic agreements across multiple star systems. Lyra reacted instantly. "Security team, with me." They moved quickly through the corridors, their footsteps echoing softly. Daniel noticed how people stepped aside more quickly now, watching him with curiosity and respect. Word had spread about the human who noticed the hidden device. He ignored the attention. His focus remained forward. As they reached the communication sector, the lights flickered again. Doors sealed behind them. Daniel's heartbeat slowed instead of speeding up. The pattern felt familiar now. Isolation, control, psychological pressure. "They're forcing a confrontation," he said. Lyra nodded. "Stay alert." The main communication chamber opened before them. A wide circular room filled with floating consoles and streams of glowing symbols. At the center stood a tall figure wearing a dark uniform. The figure turned slowly, an alien officer, one of the station's senior coordinators. Shock moved through the security team. "You," Lyra said quietly. The officer inclined their head slightly. "Commander, human." Daniel studied them carefully, calm posture, controlled breathing. "No signs of panic." "You planted the devices," Lyra said. "Yes," the officer replied without denial. "Why?" The officer gestured toward the vast displays around them. "This station represents fragile cooperation, too many species with conflicting interests. Chaos is inevitable." "I merely accelerated the process." Daniel stepped forward slightly. "By manipulating trust." "Trust is inefficient," the officer replied. "Control creates stability." Lyra's voice grew colder. "You risked interstellar conflict." "A temporary disturbance," the officer said calmly. "Afterward, stronger leadership would emerge." Daniel felt anger rise but forced himself to stay calm. Humans survived not by losing control but by choosing when to act. "You underestimated something," he said. The officer tilted their head. "And what is that?" "People." The officer gave a small, almost amused sound. "Human optimism." Daniel shook his head. "Human experience. We've seen systems fail before. Control doesn't create peace, understanding does." The officer activated a console. Warning lights filled the room. "I anticipated resistance," they said. "The communication array is now set to broadcast false treaty violations between key species. Within minutes, fleets will mobilize." Lyra stepped forward. "Deactivate it." "I cannot." Daniel's eyes moved quickly across the displays. The system was locked behind layers of authorization. Advanced alien encryption. He took a slow breath. Technology was not his strength. People were. "You don't actually want destruction," he said quietly. The officer paused. "You think conflict will create order," Daniel continued. "That means you believe your method is necessary. You believe you're saving the galaxy." Silence stretched. The officer's gaze shifted slightly. Lyra watched carefully, beginning to understand Daniel's strategy. "You're not a villain," Daniel said gently. "You're someone who lost faith in cooperation." For the first time, uncertainty appeared in the officer's posture. "Our experiments with diplomacy have failed repeatedly," they said. "Conflict is inevitable." Daniel shook his head. "Maybe, but forcing it removes choice, and choice is what makes cooperation real." He stepped closer despite the risk. "You watched humans arrive here, didn't you?" he said. "We're new, we make mistakes, but we keep trying. That's what you're missing." The officer's hand hesitated above the console. Lyra spoke quietly. "End this, you still can." Seconds passed. Alarms grew louder. Finally, the officer lowered their hand. Daniel moved instantly, accessing the console while Lyra secured the suspect. With guidance from security systems, he initiated an emergency reset. The broadcast sequence stopped. The room fell into sudden quiet. Daniel exhaled slowly. Outside, normal station sounds returned. Later, as the conspirator was taken away, Lyra stood beside Daniel in the empty chamber. "You did not defeat them with force," she said. He smiled faintly. "Humans learned long ago that understanding someone's reason is sometimes stronger than fighting them." She looked at him with new respect. "The moment your badge fell," he said, "I thought you were in danger. Turns out the whole station was." "And you noticed first," she replied. He shrugged slightly. "Humans see meaning where others see nothing," she added softly. Days later, a formal announcement spread across the station. The conspiracy had been exposed. Diplomatic relations stabilized. And for the first time, several species requested human advisors for future operations. As Daniel stood watching ships leave through the massive viewing window, Lyra joined him. "The galaxy will remember this," she said. He nodded, not because a human had been the strongest, but because a human had chosen to understand and change the future.